right, I guess we're doing this. Welcome to Still Against All Odds. Alongside producer Mikey Meatballs, I'm joined by the degenerate trifecta, Harry, Parlay Kid, and Brother Bry. What's going on, fellas?
What's going on, Joel?
What's up, Joel?
What's going on, buddy?
Oh man, we're going to talk about this big news coming out of Pittsburgh and Mike Tomlin stepping down. We've got it's like the smoke. We're waiting now for the smoke to come out of Acrisure Stadium with the new coach. It's gonna be a while though. We'll talk about that. These guys have their picks ready for the NFL divisional round and the College Football National Championship. We have a very special guest in the waiting. But first, quickly, Harry, we got some feedback on your Tony Romo impression. That is most important.
Oh,
You're not a big impression guy, I would say, but you rolled the dice. You gave us your Tony Romo impression, and let's just say very polarizing. I put up
Yeah, Joel.
There it goes again.
Joel.
oh, Tony, is that you, Tony?
he did an excellent impression of his Tony Romo impression right there.
Yeah.
That was
Exactly.
fantastic.
Well, to like Dare said, once we figured out what it was, I put up a poll on Instagram, on my Instagram, if it was spot on or a big duh. Absolutely straight down the line, 50-50. People loved it or they did not love it.
I gotten DM'd a lot today. People who was listening said they loved it. Loved it.
They might have
Yeah.
loved it. That doesn't mean it was a good impression. I think they'll kind of just
As long
get a
as
kick
it's
out
good,
of it.
D. As long as it's good.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right, he's a little more like Tony Shlomo, I think, is what we're gonna call you, pal. I'm not sure. Maybe our guest can decide and get and weigh in on what he thinks. He's making his debut on Still Against All Odds. He's a guy that you've hung out in Vegas. We've all hung out with him in Vegas. Most people gamble as a hobby, but this man gets to do it and talk about it for a living. He's living the dream responsibly, of course. Senior sports betting analyst at Yahoo Sports, Ben Fawkes. What's going on, pal?
How we doing? Yeah, I would say also the fact that I don't, gamble to excess or that much and just get to talk about it is probably why I still have a job. So that's what's really important. I like to report on everything, and then everyone else gets to
Yeah.
decide where they want to put their money, and that way I can still pay my rent.
Right. Well, that's what they say.
Yeah.
Like that's why Harry can't work at Sonic because it's like what they say. You can't eat where you live, I guess, or something. Like you can't. I don't know. I don't know
I
what
think
that
you cleaned it
expression.
up, but yeah,
Yeah.
something like
Oh,
that.
right. I did want to ask you this. For me, I grew up, and one of my dad's good friends, they would pass out the pick'em sheet every week. And I was like 9 or 10 years old, and my dad would come home with the pick'em sheet. You had to fill it out with a pencil and turn it in. You didn't even know who everyone else picked, and then you on Monday you'd find out where the standings were. It was that moment, and then of course the '91 national championship between Duke and UNLV. My brother and I famously, as kids, bet our dad $100 that we didn't even have that Duke would win, and then we won and demanded the $100. That was when I got into sports betting and fell in love with it. What was it for you?
Well, first, I gotta say, $100 in 1991. That's some serious, serious
Yes.
change as a
Yes,
kid.
sir.
I mean,
Yeah.
man, oh man, that's high stakes. So I think for me, I've always liked to say like I grew up in Brooklyn. I think growing up in Brooklyn, you always grow up around gambling in some way, whether or not you're participating in it yourself. It's just kind of always around. So I played on a travel soccer team, travel baseball team. And so you're always hearing like some of the parents talking about, football and the spreads and all this. And I think, especially at that time, it's such a like, I always said it was almost like a secret club, right? Where some people knew the password and there was, all these different terms and different people in Vegas had nicknames, or obviously people had local bookies. And so it was kind of this, more of a secret club. And I think just once you started looking at it, I remember getting the daily news, right? And they'd have the spreads in it. And you kind of look at it and you're starting to decipher it. And you're like, why is this team, why is the team name in caps lock, right? And the other ones isn't, like, because it's the home team.
Yep.
So you slowly kind of piece this together, but it wasn't like anyone was spelling this out for you because it was really legal in Nevada and not legal everywhere else. And so I think just starting to learn about that, being in some like low level pools And then once I started kind of working at ESPN, just reading some stories and editing, I just kind of fell in love with I guess, the culture and the fact that not everyone knew all of that and just was almost like a different way to view sports. And I felt like, was it Plato's Cave? Once you see that, it's tough to go back, right? Like that's the new reality. It's hard to just be like, all right, now we're talking about sports and which team's going to win and are they going to lose and kind
Yeah,
of
no,
sports
it's more
talk
fun when you
radio.
got action on it. Come on.
Exactly. So it just once you kind of saw that and you were looking at the game and then the more you do it, right, you're like, all right, now I have this wager I'm rooting for, and you're always looking at it like, okay, how can I lose, right? What can go wrong? So you're just looking at the game in a different way. And I think once you have that, it's difficult to go back. And I kind of kept going from there. Eventually had some like Vegas trips and met some bookmakers and other bettors and yeah, it's just been kind of a falling into a career a bit because I was always a sports guy who happened to be doing some sports betting.
Yeah.
And now obviously sports betting has blown up. And so it kind of was I guess a hobby that became a career.
Harry, see, you should have taken this path. I don't know what
I
you.
know.
Yeah, unbelievable. As I've gotten
I
to.
just went to Vegas to just straight gamble. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that-
Ben lost Harry at Plato's Cave. That was it. He lost.
Harry lost him at Secret Club. He's like, this is not a secret club. What?
Right.
Well, as I've gotten to know these guys, Bry loves to kind of look for something that doesn't add up right. Some line that doesn't make sense. And Parlay Kids, kind of loves to put together the favorites into a parlay. I'm still trying to figure out what Harry does, but what is as you've kind of figured this out and been in this business now? What is your strategy or your formula? Like what have you learned that has been your bread and butter or like a rule you live by, hard and fast?
Yeah, so I think my biggest thing is, I guess maybe it's job advice as well, is kind of find the in sports betting, right? You're looking for inefficiencies in the market. And to me, one of the biggest ones and kind of where I've gone with my lane is there aren't very many people who are talking to the actual bookmakers, right? And they're the ones who are taking all the bets. They're behind the counter. They actually know who is winning and who is losing, right? It's the same thing with any app that we have right now, but it started in Vegas, right? They know you go in, this is how you do in NBA, this is how you do in NHL. You're beating the closing line. This guy's really good at NFL, but he's really terrible at whatever, parlays or MMA or anything else. So developing those contacts and basically talking to them about, hey, here's where the public's betting. Here's where some sharp action is. This line moved, right? Why did the line move? Was that injury related? Was that because there was some book offshore in Vegas that moved first, and so those books are moving with it? So more kind of talking to the bookmakers about where the action is, and then as you go through, kind of also talking to some bettors and just kind of, you can't do that every week because you're not going to talk to 40 people about who they like in certain playoff games. But I think also being able to call on those people in select sports, right? Because I do think, especially with sports betting, like specialization is somewhat necessary. It's very difficult / impossible to be good at betting every single sport. We can all try, but like you're going to have your better sports and your worst sports. Doesn't mean you're not going to, have some action on some of the ones maybe that you shouldn't have action on. That's why it's betting. But we all kind of have things we know we're better or worse at. And so knowing the people, right? Hey, this person's really good in NFL. This person's good in college football. Let me see what they have to say about the national championship game, stuff like that.
Well, first of all, I want you to put us in those group chats if you don't mind. I'm very curious about these group chats. But you actually hit on my next question because Harry has been on fire lately with cricket, I believe. What is it, Harry? Which sport?
No, soccer.
Oh, soccer. I'm sorry, soccer. I'm
And
not
the
sure.
Gearing
NFL
up for the
league.
World Cup. He's getting ahead.
All
But
ready. And I'm ready.
what has like been the most fringe sport you think that you've bet? Because I'm curious. I mean, Harry's bet on all of them. I'll tell you that for sure.
I think so. I wouldn't say necessarily bet. I would say stories and monitoring on one of the weirder ones was all the table tennis during COVID and the various far-flung countries that it was at 2 a.m. Eastern and 3 a.m. to various degrees of I guess on the up and up, as they would say. But just kind of seeing that as COVID and like, wow, we need something to bet on. And eventually it was the NFL draft, which had like a lot more prop markets that year than they typically do. But that was definitely one that was not on my bingo card as to like, all right, we're going to be following like Korean
Wow.
baseball, KBO,
Yeah,
and
we were doing
table
that.
tennis, right? Those are like the big sport. And people, to their credit, became experts, right? And they were like, all right, I'm releasing this KBO play, and the game's going on at 1 a.m. or something. But again, it was something to bet on, and but that was definitely one. And those like table tennis in Colorado, which is one of the only states that actually separates the amount bet by sport. So you can actually see like
Mm,
each month how much is bet on football, college football. Like table tennis is still like
yeah,
fifth. It's amazing
yes,
each month.
wild.
Like it's still pretty high. So
It's a
a
weird
couple
state.
people
It's
are
a
betting
weird
a lot
state.
on it.
Weird state, Ben. Weird
Yeah.
state, Colorado.
I know. COVID, who would have thought that during COVID, we really saw how much people loved sports betting. There's so many things I want to get to talk to you about before we even get to these games. I was going to ask you about like your worst bet ache or your worst beat of the season, but I think you found the person that it will never be topped. And I saw you at an interview with the Circa NFL Survivor uh, poll, someone who in back-to-back years lost in the final week. That's insane. Will that ever be topped? That is,
Mm,
first of all, it's so hard to get there once, but to get there twice and lose in the final week, I mean, that's brutal.
mm,
Yeah, brutal. I would say so. I would say for this season, the one that I remember that stands out is the Rams. What was that? Plus
Eagles?
3.5 at the Eagles,
Yeah.
Yeah.
where they were dominated the first half, were winning the whole game, then covering the whole game. Then we're going to cover regardless of whether or not they made the field goal. And then the only thing that can go wrong is the Eagles block it, return it for a touchdown, and the
right.
Eagles cover the game. So that was definitely one that stood out from a personal perspective
Yeah.
in terms of this poor guy in Circa who couldn't have been nicer. Now, I will say he also is it like a better, that's what he does for a living. He also won $1 million in a different fantasy football contest. So I think that alleviated
Mm,
some of the sting for this. But for people who don't know, like Circa, which is in Vegas, runs this NFL survivor pool. You pick
yeah.
one team each week. And obviously, you can't pick a team twice. And Circa also does a separate Thanksgiving week and a separate Christmas week. So it's not even 18 weeks, it's 20 total
Mm.
Mm,
weeks. So he went 19-1 last year. His final week, he had the Falcons, who I think were facing the Panthers for the right to go to the playoffs. The Panthers win in overtime, so he lost that one. And then this year, with a bigger prize pool of a little over $18 million, he was one of the final six. So a
Crazy.
little over 3 mil was kind of on the line for him. He had the Bengals against the Browns in a game the Bengals
oh,
had no business
oh,
Now,
losing or even being close to losing.
oh.
And of course, they go down. He did hedge before the game, so he did have a nice,
Okay, good.
six figures, but not seven figures as it probably should have been. And then, the Browns kicker, dude, drills a 49-yard field goal. It's not like that was a chip shot either, but that was just a
Sick.
brutal that was a brutal one,
Yeah.
for sure.
Is there a current future? I never want to jinx you, but is there a current future you have right now that you're most excited about?
A good question. I think the only thing I have is I took the Thunder a little while ago because I just felt now that looks a lot worse now, I will say, than it did. I think I took them right before the NBA Cup just because I talked to a bookmaker and he was like, hey, I think they might be an odds-on favorite, right? They might be minus 110, minus 120 if they win the NBA Cup. It also went the other way. So it didn't go that
Yeah.
way. Now again, they're still whatever they are, 32-7. They'll be fine. They're still the favorite, and they do have a good chance to win. Although my Minnesota Timberwolves are coming. We're coming slowly
T-Wolves.
but surely.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that's the one that I have just because I feel like at worst you're going to be able to hedge in the Western Conference with a lead. It's hard to see them not making at least the Western Conference Finals.
All right. Well, hey, before we get into these NFL games. You guys have any questions for Ben, Harry? Besides how you can be, I guess he might be. You might want to move in with him. I'm not sure.
What's just curious, where do you like it's Ben, I lived in Vegas for 17 years. I worked in the books for 14.
Humble brag from him.
And no, it's not really bragging.
He got fired too. He
But
got fired.
that is accurate.
No,
Um,
not fired, bro. He's banned from Las Vegas. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
all right, all right. Anyways, what is your favorite place in Vegas now to go watch games, and who has the best buffet you think now?
Ooh,
Buffet.
more
Oh,
importantly,
man.
I like that question.
Wow. Uh, so I feel like the buffet, I'll go first. I think it also depends a little bit on like your price point. So I do think if you have like South Point is going to be
Unlimited. Money's no object. Money's no object. It's
then
food
I'll go
the
with
best
the
place.
one that my wife worked at when she was out there. The Win is a
Yeah,
pretty tough.
good.
That's pretty tough to beat. You're not going to have a bad buffet there. I think in terms of watching the games, I was lucky enough that when I was at VSiN, one of the studios is at Circa, and so watching either that sports book or at Stadium Swim or the Westgate, you really can't go wrong between those two. Just like I think Westgate, you think of that classic, just like wall to wall, TVs. Those are two great places, and they, both
Yeah.
places take care of you. So, and especially at Circa, since Derek is a sports fan, you really can't like turn anywhere, and there isn't a TV on a game, right? Because he,
Yeah.
went to all these places, and he's like, "Hey, why, when I'm in a casino, can I never watch a game?" So it's really difficult to, if you're sweating out a game, that's not going to be a place you can't watch. You're going to run into a TV somewhere there. But yeah, that's a great environment, and so those would probably be the two I'd say.
And how many weed gummies do you take when you're betting? I'm just no, I'm just
Not
kidding,
not
Ben.
for me. Yeah,
Yeah.
not that I'm
Good man.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
I know plenty of people that do. That's all good. I know it's all, regulated and all that. I'd be too nervous, man.
I'm with you. I'm
Yeah.
with you. All right.
Ben,
Hey,
he's
this is
Ben's the
why
man.
we brought you here. Let's make some money. Let's get to this Saturday game. Oh my God, the NFL not messing around. These are all good games, but we start off with Bills at Denver. Denver plus 1.5. Broncos a top seed divisional round. And yet, look at this line. Who knew? They met last year in the wild card round when the Bills blew out the Broncos 31-7, but a lot's changed. You got Bo Nix a year under his belt. Broncos defense allowed just 18 and a half points in the regular season. But I mean, Bills 3-0 as underdogs this season. Harry, let's start with you.
Well, look, a couple of weeks ago, I gave out Denver to go to the Super Bowl, but after the Bills and Josh Allen pulled that game out against Jacksonville, maybe it is his time. Maybe he is going to make that run into the Super Bowl. So I'm gonna go off and not take the game. I'm gonna take the total. I'm gonna go over 46 and a half. It was like 45 and a half yesterday. Now it's 46 and a half. The Bills, who were the best team running the ball this year, couldn't run it last week against Jacksonville. Denver is actually way better than against the run even than Jacksonville is. So I think it's going to be Josh Allen to the rescue again. Tons of passes, 12 passes to Shakir last week. He was the guy for them. 51 points in that Bills game last week. Joel, you mentioned Bills put up 31 at home against Denver in the playoffs last year in Bo Nix's rookie season. Maybe this game he shows off a little bit more at home in terms of them being the number one seed. Again, just Josh Allen is a machine. He puts up points. That's all there is to say about that. And nine of the Bills' last 11 playoff games, nine of the last 11, their games have gone over 46 points. So give me over 46 and a half.
Yeah. And he's your favorite rapper too, Tupac Shakir. That's
Yeah.
your favorite rapper, I think. Brother Bry, you are back. Well, you never left, really. You've had the Bills
Well,
from the
I
beginning of the
mean,
season. We're gonna forget anything else you said.
yeah,
You've
can
had
we
the
please
Bills.
forget? I had
Yeah.
Bills Rams and then I switched off to Jacksonville. Although I fear what's happening, right? We all decided we like Jacksonville last week. We're probably all gonna decide we like the Bills this week. I hope we just don't keep zigzagging and losing here. But I'm taking the Bills though. I'm not gonna go against Allen again. The end of that game was terrifying though, being with the Jaguars, right? You just knew in those last two drives that Allen was coming down and scoring. I think this is a question like, do the Broncos have the patience to lean on the run? Because, the Bills, Jaguars, I felt like should have ran a lot more in that game. They never really did. But I'm not sure. This Broncos team, I was saying, like, I felt like, kind of like the Bears. I felt like they got off to some slow starts in certain games. Having to bye, I think maybe it's good for the Bills to get a little bit of a lead in this game. Then maybe the Broncos have to throw more than they want. And the Bills' pass defense has been pretty good. So I'm going to take the Bills, -1.5.
All right, and Parlay Kid, you look like Sean McDermott, so it only makes sense you would
McDermott was
go.
a great wrestler too. I like that about him. Kind of feisty type of coach. And Harry, I just this bothers me with Harry. He took Denver a couple weeks ago. I missed kind of little myth that he wouldn't take them here in this game. Harry, if you had to pick somebody, who are you picking in this game? Get it out there.
I,
I don't want you
I
because I don't
know, I
want
know.
Denver
That's
to
why
win and say,
look. You know
"I
what?
told you so."
You're
I know.
embarrassing us in front of Ben, Harry.
I'm no. I'm just saying. I
Pick a
have
side.
always wanted. I've always been a Josh Allen fan. Out of my own. I just always wanted him to get there. He hasn't been able to because of Kansas City. Now doesn't have Kansas City in his way. Doesn't have Baltimore in his way. Doesn't have Joe Burrow in his way. But Denver still is the one seed. But if I had to pick here, I'm kind of rooting for Josh Allen to get it done, even though I did give out Denver.
All right, so see this Ben, see the games he plays. This is what he
Yeah. He
does.
wins either way.
He
Yeah.
wins either way. That's what he'll say. So we still didn't get an answer real quickly because I'll make my pick real quick because I would just regurgitate what Brother Bryce said. But Ben, how long were you in Brooklyn for? Were you like the whole
Born
the
and
whole
raised.
youth? I just it's amazing. I don't detect an accent. You did a great job of
My parents are from the Midwest, so
okay.
that's
Really,
Cleveland
where
and
in the Midwest?
Minnesota.
Is that how you become? So I was gonna say, how did you become a T-Wolves fan?
Ah,
I'm a big,
Dad from Minneapolis. Yeah, that's
okay,
why.
Long Island guy. Brother Bry's Long Island guy. Harry's upstate New York. So you would think Harry would be a Bills fan. Harry doesn't have any favorite teams, by the way, Ben. That's kind of weird, don't you think, too?
Maybe he's accumulated them or it's the ones he's won or lost the most money on over the years that
That's very
become the favorite
possible.
teams.
That's very possible. I'm going to go. Look, I like what Brother Bryce said. Is it the Bills' time? I hope so. Joel, that I've been talking. Josh Allen's my number one favorite player in the NFL, and outside of anybody on the Dallas Cowboys. I've always said he'd be my first pick if I was starting a team right now. He's the guy. It's Josh Allen's time. He'll put his team on his back here to win this game. Denver offensively will not have enough firepower to keep up, even though, let's face it, Denver's defense is certainly an upgrade over the Bills' defense. But this just seems to be the right time for the Bills. This seems to be a really perfect matchup in my book for the Bills to face a team that might struggle to score points as they have in many, many games this year. Let's take the Bills in this one, Joel.
all right, Ben. Well, now you've heard what those guys have to say. We're for the most part on Buffalo and a possibly Buffalo, I think. So, what do you think? Which way are you leaning? And from what you've heard from the fellas.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I think, as obviously we've seen with the line, some books opened with at a pick 'em, some books opened with the Bills as a favorite. Now it's flipped at some books, the Broncos a short favorite. It shows you kind of the respect that odds makers have for the Bills.
Yep.
If that line held and the Broncos ended up being an underdog, it'd only be the third time since 1970 that a number one seed was an underdog in the divisional round, right?
Wow.
So the Bills, obviously, you got the best player in Josh Allen. A little bit of the concern, I think, with them is the wide receiver core. They're just getting
100%.
really, really thin. Shavers was a good player for them last week. He's out now. I think he tore his ACL. Gabe Davis also
Davis.
out, right? And so all of a sudden, the guys who are even further down, they were obviously thinking, hey, Keon Coleman, Shakir, that's who we're going to be relying on. They're really going to have to rely on those guys. Not to mention, Josh Allen at least got that week off in week 18 against I think they were playing the Jets, right? Played like a snap. Well, he just got beat up even more in that game, hurt his finger, looked like his knee. He's had the foot injury. So that's a little disconcerting, kind of going also to Denver, a rested team. I want as a Vikings fan and the teams that never win the Super Bowl, if the Vikings aren't in it, I like to root for the teams that have had that past. The Bills certainly have had that. I kind of lean the Broncos just because I think a lot of times what happens in the playoffs is we watch the team, right? And then we forget why the team that they're playing got a bye. Now, in this case, they're not favored by a ton of points, right? The Broncos, it's a close matchup. And the Broncos haven't also been great. If they are a favorite, I think they're 10-2 straight up as a favorite, but only 3-9 against the spread. Now, the spread might not matter in this game, and so it's going to be a small number, but basically a long way of saying I think the Broncos do enough to eke it out. And if it was like full strength against full strength, I like the Bills, but you're handicapping what
Yeah.
each team is. The Bills have less rest. The Bills just had to play. The Bills had even more injuries on top of they already had that. And Mile High is a good, home field advantage. So I think it'll be a very good game and a close game, but I'm a little concerned about those injuries that have been piling up for the Bills.
All right. Well, let's get into these props. And Ben, what I'd like you to do is, as we go through these games, I would love to put in a same game parlay this week with these guys. So not only do I want you to kind of go through each one and figure out which parlay you like the best, but also if there's a weak leg here, you got to let us know because I don't like to call these guys out, but you're allowed to. Okay.
Got it. I have carte blanche.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So you guys will very quickly just give us your props starting with this game and Parlay Kid going back to one that usually hits. Let's
It
start with
seems
you.
like it, right? Josh Allen, anytime TD at -105. Joel, 16 rushing touchdowns, including 2 last week and actually 2 the week before. So he's been on a roll. He is the new king of the tush push as well. He's overtaken Jalen Hurts as an unstoppable force on goal line situations or 4th and 1 situations. Josh Allen, anytime TD, -105.
All right, brother Bry.
Yeah, I'm going to go with James Cook under 76.5 yards rushing. I think that number, it just feels like it's a really high number, only 46 yards against the Jags defense, which was good, like Harry was saying, but the Broncos have had one of the better run defenses in the league. So again, just seems like a high number. So I'd lean under here.
Okay, and Harry, you've got one more for us.
Yeah, I'm with Brian. I like what Brian's saying. I'm also on James Cook under 17 and a half rushing attempts at minus
Goes.
114. I had this last week. The number was 18 and a half, and at one, I think he had 14. I'm rolling with it again, especially Brian said great Broncos run defense, second best in the NFL against the run. Give me Cook under 17 and a half carries.
All right, Ben. The guys are steering clear of that Denver offense, which can be pretty fickle. So what do you think of that leg, this parlay?
Understandable. I like all those. I think if you're nitpicking, you could say maybe you take out the Cook under 76 and a half just in case he does break one, right? So he only gets 15 carries, but he has, 85 yards because he breaks a 40-yarder. And also, they may have Ty Johnson back, who didn't play against the Jaguars, as that backup running back, who could also take some more carries to that point away from James Cook. So that would be the only of those three. That's probably the only nitpick. Obviously, Josh Allen kind of is unstoppable by the goal line. It's just going to be a question of do they get to the 2-yard line, the 1-yard line, and they have that opportunity for him to run it in.
All right. So there you go. It's pretty good. Let's try to get to this San Francisco Seattle game and take a break. Rubber match between these two teams. Brock Purdy 4-0 in Seattle, both straight up and against the spread. He was the favorite in those games, but not this one. Niners are going to be without George Kittle. Seattle -7.5. A little juicy line there, Harry. What do you think?
I'm going to do a little bit of an adjusted line here. I'm going to lay $1.40. I'm going to push it up to 8.5. Yeah, you mentioned some injuries, Joel, for San Fran, but I'm still going to push this up to a key number of 8.5. San Francisco gutsy win on the road last week. 7-1. They still are straight up in their last 8. Shanahan has a winning record versus playoff teams this year, and the Niners do. And so much pressure on Sam Darnold here. 8.5. I'm taking that with San Francisco. And by the way, San Francisco 6-3 straight up in their last 9 road playoff games, and Seattle hasn't won a home playoff game in 10 years.
All right. Well, now we get a little bit of differences opinions here. Parlay Kid, let's start with you.
Well, first, if I could ask Ben this question too, Ben, because I've been kind of trying to check some weather reports here. How much does the weather report affect some of these player props? Like if it's going to be really cold, Is that going to say, because I know out actually in the Pacific Northwest and out in Denver, it's actually going to be fairly very nice
Yeah.
this week. But when you get into Chicago, it's going to be frigid, right? So, how much would the weather, say, like if you're playing in some frigid temperatures, affect the lines on, say, like an over 1.5 touchdown passes for Caleb Williams? Is that going to play a factor, or does does the weather not really play a factor unless it's rain or something like that?
Yeah, I think it all plays a little bit of a factor. I think especially for cold, it's like the degrees, right? And
Yeah,
by that I don't mean like is it 30 degrees, is it 31 degrees? I mean like
right.
how freezing is it, right? So if it's 32 or 28, like that's cold, but when it's 0 and then there's a -8 wind chill
Yeah,
or whatever it's supposed to be in Chicago, that definitely impacts players. We saw that in, we've seen that in some games, right? It's hard to catch the ball. That's going to impact it. And then ultimately, a lot of it too is rain, and a big thing is wind, right? If it's
yes,
very windy, there's gusting, again, difficult to catch the ball, also difficult to throw the ball. We even saw in the Eagles game against the 49ers some passes that just didn't make it
correct.
where the quarterback thought it
Mhm.
would. And ultimately, like it's tough to know always with the totals, right? Because you could also have a windy game and the totals may be impacted, and then a pass that would be complete or would be incomplete is then underthrown and it's a PI, and then it's a 40-yard pass interference, penalty. But in general, the higher the wind is really what's going to make a big difference, and some
Okay,
rain too.
okay, very very thorough. Great answer. I love to hear that. So, Joel, listen, Seattle. I'm taking Seattle, and by the way, at least on some sites, the line has gone down to 7. So I'm jumping on Seattle at -7 compared to the 7.5 that we saw maybe this afternoon.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at 7 now, and I like that line for Seattle. You're talking about the number one defense in the NFL in terms of points allowed. They're also third in the NFL of points scored, I think. So that's a super balanced team. And of course, the home field advantage here should play a big part. And San Francisco, let's face it, is really they're probably the most banged up team left in the playoffs, and I only think they can go so far. Seattle's hungry for a playoff win. Again, very balanced on the offensive side of the ball with their run pass game, and relentless on the defensive side of the ball. Let's take Seattle to win fairly convincingly in this one.
Interesting. All right, Bry. Yeah, 49ers are banged up, but it hasn't mattered yet. They find a way to win, and what are you, I don't know if you're
Well,
picking them outright, but
look, I could see us all. I mean, I honestly could see us all doing some type of teaser with Seattle, and maybe if the Bills are underdogs, I could see us doing that
Mm,
potentially. But I'm gonna take, I'm gonna take the 7.5 points. The last game between these two to end the season, right? There was basically no offense, especially, I mean, I will say mostly the 49ers. I mean, could have moved the ball at all, but I think 7.5, maybe just until we see Darnold do it in the playoffs and perform at a high level. I think 7.5 is too many. If Purdy can lead one or two drives here, this could be like, this probably is going to be like I know the 49ers defense hasn't been great, but this still could be like a seventeen
mm,
14, 17-13 type of game here. I just think 7.5 points is too much considering we've seen Purdy play pretty well, except for that Seattle game
Seattle
down
game.
the stretch. Down, and again, this goes back to like the buy. Sometimes the buy is, the buy at times is great, but also sometimes it just lends for teams to get off to a little bit of slow starts here. So I think 7.5 is too many.
I don't know, Ben, is that it seems like this game is everyone. It's how much you trust Sam Darnold. Is that how you look at it?
Yeah, well, as a Vikings fan, I know about how much I trust him in big games. I
Yep.
think in this one, I have leaned at least at this point in the week to the Seahawks. So I'd go with Parlay Kid, taking the 7. I think it's interesting because you saw these teams play in week 1 when obviously they were mostly
Mm,
healthy
yep.
for both teams, and then you saw them playing week 18, and it was a
Mhm.
stark difference between the two. And even though that game was only 13-3 in week 18, it was basically a blowout in terms of yardage and it never really felt like the
Mhm.
49ers were going to win the game. And I think ultimately that's kind of the concern. Like just looking at that box score, the Seahawks had 23 first downs, 361 yards. 49ers had 9 first downs, 173 yards. And that was when the 49ers were healthier than they are now. So to me, with the Seahawks, extra rest now, they're at home.
Yep.
That was with everything, on the line. Ricky Pearsall, if he does come back, would make a little bit of a difference. But I it's just tough when I think again, it's when you're always handicapping the actual game, right? As opposed to these two teams, the at full strength. At full strength, I think the Niners are a better team. They're just so far
Yeah.
from full strength right now, and I think ultimately at some point that has to catch up with him. I'm not sure why the Eagles weren't attacking any of the linebackers the 49ers had. They had backups all over the place. They weren't
Hendricks. Yeah.
running,
Yeah.
right, weren't running any option routes, anything like that. So I think the Seahawks are as good as the Eagles were on defense. The Seahawks are better, and they have more of a functional offense. I don't even know if Darnold will need to do that much. I think the
Mm.
defense might be good enough to just hold the
Mm.
49ers down. Now, that being said, like Kyle Shanahan is a genius.
Yep.
I thought the Eagles were going to easily cover that game, and they certainly did not. They lost, outright. Now they were close. It did feel like, to me, it felt like the Eagles were in control, even though it was like 13 to
Mm.
10. But ultimately, the 49ers made a couple of plays. I just think at some point that has to catch up with him. And to me, that's where this is. It's also interesting at 7.5. This is the second, or would be the second biggest underdog the Niners have ever been in their playoff history. So, they're not used to
Yeah.
being this large of an underdog, right? Very celebrated franchise, won a lot of Super Bowls. I think it was 1984 against Washington. They were a 10
Mm.
point underdog. So I lean the Seahawks. Again, I've been wrong before. I just think against this Niners team, we just saw this game a couple weeks ago. I'm not sure why it would go any differently.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's good. I think you'll like these props then. And if we put this same thing, if we put this together as the same game parlay, what do you like? What would be your weakest leg? And oh boy, Harry with a spite bet.
Yes.
Maybe not. Maybe just how he really feels. But Harry, we'll
And
start
Mm.
with you.
despite that, but how I feel, I'm doing this for Darren's best buddy. I'm doing this for Darren's best friend in the world. I'm going to take Sam Darnold at minus 128 to throw at least one interception. Again, huge game for him. Huge game last year for the number one seed. Didn't play well. Got destroyed by Detroit. And then Ben, as you know, in the playoff game,
Are you
the
talking
one
to Ben?
game
Did you
Thanks
get
for
say
in.
reminding me, Harry.
Yeah,
Appreciate
sorry.
it.
which Ben? Which Ben?
Yeah,
I want to
which
make
Ben?
sure.
That's a
Yeah.
good
Right.
question.
And then in that game against the Rams in the playoffs last year, he did throw a pick, sacked 9 times, was awful in that one too. He does have 11 picks in his last 11 games. And I'll say this real quick. 10 of his four, he's got 14 picks this year. 10 of his 14 picks this year were against teams that made the playoffs this year.
If there is a negative thing to find on Sam Darnold, I would love to see Harry's Google search history because it's definitely a lot of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Would
I
you?
want to see that.
it's
Actually, you're right.
porn and
We
yeah,
don't.
porn and Sam Darnold.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Also, by the way, I take that back. You've always said Parlay Kid is your best friend. So don't Harry, don't you that's not true.
Sammy
Harry,
D will not be for me.
all right. Brother Bry, you're going Sam Darnold too.
Yeah, I mean, I like what Harry's doing there. I think, Ben might say, yeah, I guess it's just a question of how much Sam Darnold has to throw in this game. And that's why I'm going to take Darnold under 238 and a half passing yards. It just, again, this is something that just seems like a really high number. I know San Francisco's defense, not great in general, but I think this is a game similar to the last one, right? I think they're going to want to run the ball a lot. Darnold had 198 yards passing in the last one, but I think they're going to want to try to limit. I think they're going to, especially in this first playoff game, they're just going to want Darnold to go out there, make some plays, but not make many mistakes. Because if it starts, if something bad happens early, then it could get a little, you start getting a little bit nervous as a Seahawks fan. So again, you don't want to put too much on Darnold in this game. And, there's been plenty of games they've won where he hasn't really had to do much at all this season. So I think just 238 and a half passing yards seems like a lot. I thought it would be lower.
It is a lot. All right, that's two against Sam Darnold. And now this is why I love Parlay Kid because he finds a way to also bet against Sam Darnold, but not doing it so obvious in a way that he offends people. And he's just a good guy. So Parlay Kid, I like
I,
this.
I do like what you're saying there, Joel. But quite honestly, this is, has more to do with me liking the Seahawks in this game. So you might find this pick a little strange, but it's Purdy most passing yards at plus 102. Just because, like Brother Bry said, and like Ben said about the trust factor with Sam Darnold. And I do think Seattle gets out to an early lead in this game, 7-0, 14-3, something in that. And then they're going to rely heavily on that running game to control the clock, and maybe a few Darnold check downs here or there on third down. Well, Purdy's going to have to play from behind, and he's going to accumulate a bunch of passing yards. So that's why I kind of like Purdy with the plus number here for most passing yards.
All right, Ben, what is the floor is yours? Do we like that across the board? Anything you're worried about?
Oh, I'd say a little worried, I guess maybe on two of them. I think the Darnold interception, he's like you'll know early on if you have good Sam Darnold or bad Sam Darnold. And if you have good Sam Darnold, he's probably not going to throw an interception because he is a really good quarterback in certain games when mentally he's there and it lines up with the defense. And
Yep.
then we've seen those games last year, the Rams game this year, right? When he threw 4 picks, sometimes it just doesn't go well. So that's one. And then the only thing with the Purdy at plus money is like in that Week 18 game, they were behind. Sam Darnold had 198 yards. Purdy only had 127. So my only concern with that is just even if they're losing, the Seahawks defense is good enough. They're not getting first downs. He's getting off the field, and then the Seahawks are just running the ball, running the clock out. And even if that game script is, as you say, Parlay Kid, that maybe they just don't have enough playmakers. They can't
I
stay
like
on
it.
the
Yep.
field. So that would be my only concern with that one.
Yep.
Oh, all right, that's fair. Interesting subplot here, I think, are the offensive coordinators. You've got Clint Kubiak, Seahawks offensive coordinator. You've got Clay Kubiak, the 49ers offensive coordinator. I think that whoever wins should be the Steelers coach. This is how you decide Kubiak versus Kubiak. Let's just settle this right here. That's how it should be. This is going to be the next Harbaugh Bowl eventually. Two offensive play calling geniuses. That's how I'd like to settle it. Ben, what do you think? Can you stick around? Can you give us these other two games?
Yeah, no problem.
All right,
Love
perfect.
it.
We got more
Love
with
it.
Ben. We've got more with these guys. And Harry, stop Googling Sam Darnold. We got you right after the break. All right, let's get to these Sunday games. Still here with Ben Fawkes from Yahoo Sports. He's our senior gambling expert. What else? What else, Ben? Is that your official title?
Senior sports betting analyst. It's very official.
Yeah.
Nice.
Harry, you're our junior. What we should call you our junior sports betting analyst. No? Yeah. No, we
I
got
don't
to
know.
come up with a title like that for you, I think.
Poor Harry, man. Jeez. Harry knows everyone in Vegas. I remember talking to him. He knows the players.
No, Harry is the man. Harry's the man. Houston at New England. New England -3. About an hour before we started rolling, the Patriots got sort of good news. It looks like their star quarterback, Christian Gonzalez, he returned to practice, hasn't been cleared yet from concussion protocol, but that's certainly a good sign for them. As for Texan star wide receiver Nico Collins, he sat out practice. Appears to be he's unlikely. That's a bummer. But this is going to be a big time defensive slugfest, and that's what Harry you're hoping for here.
Yeah, look, I went with Houston against Pittsburgh under, caught that one, shouldn't even been that close. So I'm going to go under again here against the Patriots at 41.5. Both defenses were stellar last week. Gave up a grand total of 3 field goals combined. Texans a season ago, or this season, I'm sorry, were best in the league in yards per game, giving up at 277. They gave up only 200 to the Steelers on Monday. 15 times this year, they gave up 21 points or less in the Pats D. No joke. Herbert had no time to pass. Nobody was open. And they've given up just 23 points, the Patriots defense. 23 total points in their last 3 games combined. Houston, New England, under 41.5, guys.
Yeah. Parlay Kid, do you want to force him to make a pick here or no?
I mean, that's three straight without really picking a side. I mean, I'm not gonna even. We don't even have to ask him. Whatever. It
Okay.
All
doesn't
right.
matter. He doesn't really care.
Well, that's this is what but that's what happens when you don't have a team, Ben. You get to you just can really bet with your wallet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing wrong with
Last
that.
time I
Yeah.
checked, Ben. Last time I checked, if you bet an over under, cash is the same as the side, right? Last time.
All tickets
Yeah.
cash the same. There you go.
Keep
Hey, you
cashing.
should still give an opinion on the game. You don't have to say you bet it, but
Oh
then you
yeah.
can still.
No,
That,
you should see all the money Harry's rolling
it's
in with
really.
all
I
his
mean,
wins, Ben.
crowd
You
was
should
not
see. You
great.
should see all
That's
the
for sure.
tickets he's cashing. It's incredible.
Incredible.
Well, I see the decor on the walls, so it clearly has spread to, there.
Uh,
That's
do I have to
a
bust out the Harry cartoon? Do I have to bust out the Harry cartoon stuff? I don't know.
listen. That's a beautiful oak door, I think, Harry. Wait till you the carpet. There's actually a beautiful carpet somewhere there. Parlay Kid, I know you secretly have been loving this Pats team all year and no different.
Why does everybody hate me for that? Like, why? Like, I understand. Like, Sal is surrounded by our pal Sal, cousin Sal, is surrounded by Pats fans, and I don't know. Even here in New York, I know I'm supposed to hate. Like, I hate the Celtics. Right? I hate the Red Sox. I hate the Bruins. I have a great deal of respect for the Patriots team and the organization and what they've accomplished, over the last 2 decades. So I look, this game to me is the toughest game to pick of them all, just because of what we've seen, how good this Texans defense is. But we've also, if we want to talk quarterback play, May is straight up the better quarterback than Stroud. So I got to lean on the quarterback here in this game, where I do think it's going to be a defensive battle, as Harry's talking about. But I do think May is the better quarterback, and he'll lead his team to just score more points in this one. And look, the Patriots defense, they were relentless as well in their playoff game. Absolutely relentless, just as much as the Texans was. So I don't think you're getting that much of a difference in defenses. Points allowed per game, Texans were second best in the league. Patriots were fourth. But when you talk about points scored per game, Patriots are second, basically averaging 29 points a game. Texans are mid-tier, around 13th, 14th in the league in points per game. So I think if you just add that up, Pats are the better team. I think they cover it here. It will be close, but I think they're overall the better team.
All right. Well, this is if I was Lee Corso, I would say not so fast, my friend, because Brother Bry once again disagrees here.
Yeah, I was looking at an adjusted line though of Houston plus 3.5 at minus 128. They have won 10 straight games. Yeah, Darren's had a theme, right? And God, I hope from a betting side, I mean, I don't want to root against Darren, but it'll go bad against me if all of his hit. But look, I think I do like Harry's under a lot in this game. I mean,
Yeah.
both defenses. Uh, have been great, especially recently. And what we saw, the Chargers defense did give the Pats fits in that game too. I do think the Texans have a chance to make, still even without Collins, maybe one or two explosive plays. And I think this game is, in all honesty, it's gonna be a turnover. Whoever wins the turnover battle in this game probably wins this game.
Yeah.
So I just think get the feeling it's a field goal type game. It's again another like 17-14-ish type game. So I'll take Houston getting 3.5.
All right. Before we get Ben's take, let's quickly do these props too. And for such a defensive game, Brother Bry, you're sticking with a defensive prop.
Yeah, and that's what I did last week. I took Danielle
Mhm.
Hunter to have a sack.
Yeah.
Last week he was getting plus money. This week minus 130. Him and Anderson together have been phenomenal. Hunter had 15 sacks on the season. Got the sack in the last game. They were relentless pressure. I think both guys again. The Pats were having a tough time at times blocking. The Chargers is going to be tougher in this game. So I'll take Hunter to get another sack at minus 130.
Yeah. Parlay Kid, your prop kind of goes with that a little bit here.
It does. I'm taking May under 35 and a half rushing yards in this one. I know we saw him take off for 66 yards the other day, but that's a little uncharacteristic, although he does have good legs, but he did average 26 and a half yards rushing per game during the year. And I would think that he would regress back to kind of that number, as Houston, as we know, flies around two of the field. And I don't think he's going to have those type of lanes. And let's face it, he also had like a 37-yard run last week. I'm banking on the fact that he doesn't bust one like that. He's gone under 36 and a half yards in 8 out of his last 10 games as well, rushing. So I'll take the under 35 and a half against just a stout defense. I think he's going to have to beat them through the air rather than use his legs.
And Harry, I don't even know where you found this one. This is but an under that I was not guessing here, but an
Right.
interesting
Well,
under.
this was the game where I found it to be the hardest to find a player prop. So I am going to go with
Yeah.
favorite Demario Douglas, longest catch under 12 and a half yards at minus 112. May
Interesting.
barely looked his way against the Chargers. He had one catch for 3 yards. In his last 9 games, he hasn't had more than 3 catches in any of those games. And his last 5 games, only one catch went over 12 yards, and that was a worthless catch in the second half versus Miami for 20 yards in week 18. Douglas, under 12 and a half, longest catch. Again, maybe May doesn't even look his way.
Wow. All right, Ben,
Like
we'll
that.
give
I
us
do like that.
yeah, interesting. Ben, you could give us your thoughts on the game, thoughts on those picks and what you like in this game.
Yeah, I think for this game, in terms of wagering, you kind of need to know some more about the injuries, right?
Hmm.
Because as well on the Patriots side, I believe Christian Gonzalez is also in concussion protocol or
Yeah.
had a head injury, right? So that's massive on the defensive side. And for the Texans, Christian Kirk was really big in that Steelers
Yes.
game. But Nico Collins is a different level of receiver. And so if they don't have that option, even if it's just to occupy potentially Christian Gonzalez, who clearly is the Patriots' number one corner, like how that plays out, we saw that a little bit in the 49ers Eagles, right? Where two star left tackles, Trent Williams plays, Lane Johnson doesn't play. Now, that's not the reason that, the 49ers won, but if there's kind of that imbalance in one, and in this case, they might be facing each other as well, unlike two left tackles not going up against each other. I think that's a massive thing in this game. We also saw Drake May, who's been, might be the MVP, revert back a little bit to some things he did his rookie year, right? There were some fumbles there, some decisions in the pocket, not getting rid of the ball. And the Chargers defense is very good. It's not the Texans defense though,
Yeah.
which basically completely shut down the Steelers. They had no offense. They really only scored because of a couple really bad CJ Stroud plays, which
Yep.
is also the concern for the Texans is
Yep.
Stroud looked a little rattled in a game. He really basically the only thing he had to do was not mess up and they would have won that game going away. Now they ended up winning that game going away thanks to the late pick six and things, but that was a mismatch talent wise in a game this isn't. So a long way of saying this is to me a toss up. I don't really know which way to go necessarily. I do kind of like the under as well because I think that Texans defense
Yeah.
is that good. The only thing I would say with the Drake May rushing potentially is that the Texans have the corners to play a lot of man coverage. And
Yep.
if they do have that and they go down the field, they turn their backs. Drake
Max.
May
Yep.
maybe has those scrambling options a little more than he might against a team that's playing a lot of zone. But yeah, this is just a really good game with two teams that kind of mirror each other in a
Yeah.
lot of ways. And the Patriots offense is the second best offense by DVOA and advanced metric, and the Texans defense is the second best defense
Yep.
by DVOA. So it's going to be a really good game. But if they don't get Nico Collins back, I think that could end up being the difference.
All right. I mean, it does make sense. What is DVOA? That's the DMV? Is that what did you say?
I believe it's defensive value over adjusted or over adjustment. It's Aaron Schatz's metric at
Wow.
FTN Fantasy.
Amazing. Wow. Now, our under the lights, the close out the weekend with Mike Tirico, the great Mike Tirico on the call. You got Rams at Bears, Bears plus 3.5. Scott Gagnon's Chicago Bears, I should say, against Dayton's own Sean McVay and the LA Rams, two teams come from behind wins last week. The Rams, road favorites. Just two really aggressive top 10 scoring offenses. Matthew Stafford, 37, kind of the last of this old guard. Caleb Williams, 24. Weather could be a factor or not. I don't, it doesn't seem to affect these two teams. Oh man, this is going to be glorious. Before we get to Harry, because I think that's what everyone wants to hear. Brother Bry, an
Yeah.
interesting one from you here.
Well, look, I think for the game and what they're saying with the weather, right? And you look at
Yep.
I think Sal sent some stuff around to us today. Like if you look at Stafford's career, right, and these cold weather games,
Yep.
it's not great. But so I would probably favor taking the Bears for the game at +3.5. But I'm actually going to take the Rams -2.5 first half. And again, this is a bet I did last week. I really like the Packers to get off to a hot start, and it's very similar. I feel like the way the Packers and the Rams have played recently are very similar. I think the Rams will get out to a fast start, like the Packers did. I feel like they've done that a lot this season, and then all of a sudden, I feel like as the game goes on, defensively, they make some mistakes for whatever reason. They have not been good as we've seen defensively, and I just think the Bears, what we've seen from them, the ability to just come back. So I feel like the Rams get out to a lead, and again, this could be one of those you take the Rams, maybe potentially Rams first half, Bears to win game. But I'm hoping the Rams win this one, but I prefer to take them -2.5 first half.
Interesting. All right, Parlay Kid, you are a bear lever, my friend.
Yeah.
Talk
Well,
to me.
barely. But yes, I'm going to be taking the Bears and the points here. The home team getting 3.5 as we speak. And that's one of the questions why I asked Ben before regarding, because the feels like temperature during this game is going to be 2 degrees. And I think that plays a huge factor here. I think Chicago's certainly more acclimated to that type of weather here. Not that, Stafford has played, he played in that division. So he has played plenty of football, like in Chicago and Green Bay during the cold weather months. But this is a little different animal here as he's getting older. And Caleb Williams, to me, has shown he can play in these type of conditions. So to me here, I'll take the points. I'm not really sure if the Bears get the W, but I think 3.5 is just a little too much for me. That a team that's been very resilient, whether you think they deserve to be here or not after that performance last week, but you could say the same thing about the Rams, who could have just as easily lost to the Panthers last week. So let's take the Bears, just getting the points here, Joel, in this one, with the weather being a big factor.
Interesting. All right. Hey, Matthew Stafford does have Puka and Adams now, and it's almost like there was Detroit Matthew Stafford, and now there's Super Bowl winning.
And Joel,
LA.
you and I both love Puka. I mean, there's nobody who's more fearless than that guy going across the middle. I think he'll get plenty of opportunities. Just think the Bears. Like I said, I'm not saying the Bears are winning. It's hard for me to pick a side on this one. But it's the points that I like here.
All right, now we get to Harry. If you're out for a walk right now,
come on, Harry.
you might want to pause on your walk. If you are doing the dishes, take a break so you can hear this clearly. If you're driving, pull over, because Harry Gagnon, this is a surprise here. You are riding with Scott.
I'm riding with my brother. I'm riding with him. I didn't last week, obviously. Took a lot of flack for it. But I'm taking the Bears with the 3.5. Like Darren said, I'm not sure they win the game, but I am going to take more than a field goal here.
Yeah.
I didn't like the Rams last week, how nonchalant they were, and it was that way the entire game. It should not have been that close. They should have not.
Word for him,
I had the first
nonchalant. It's a big word.
Yeah, it's a big word.
They should have lost by 3. They should have been down 10 points at halftime. Instead, they didn't even cover the first half, and they kept Carolina in the game. I don't think the Rams. I just thought they were kind of arrogant about the way they went about their business. And this Chicago team, I mean, the way they come back, the city's on fire. Everybody's talking about the Bears. Everyone's pumped up. You get to the fourth quarter, and if it's close, it just magic happens. It just does. So if you were to lay 3.5 with the Rams against the teams that made the playoffs that they played this year, in those games, if the Rams laid 3.5, they're 4-5 in those games. If you lay the 3.5 on the games they played against playoff teams this year on the road, 1-3. Bears plus 3.5. Caleb Williams, everyone loves him again now. Bears plus a 3.5. Maybe money line.
Wow. All right. Ben, you want to hear these guys' props first, or anything you want to add to this analysis?
Yeah, I'll just go the game first, I guess. I think so. Just doing like some research on this as well, as you'd kind of expect in his first 2 seasons, Caleb Williams 13-22 against the spread in the first half,
Yeah.
24-11 in the second
Crazy.
half
Amazing.
against the spread.
Yeah.
So this is kind of, if you always want to bet or probably, have something if you want to bet pregame, I do like the Bears plus 3.5. I think it's also probably another live betting opportunity. If
Yeah.
the Rams get out, it's 14-3, it's whatever, it's a different number just because we saw that against the Packers. I mean, the Bears were getting double digits and they were, we've seen it so many times this season. I don't know what happened in the halftime locker room, but they were two completely different teams
Yeah.
when they came out. Like the Packers, about the only thing they did wrong in the first half was miss that field goal late. Otherwise, it was about a perfect first half. They scored touchdowns on their first 3 drives. That's the concern against Chicago is that defense. But I think in Chicago's favor, they came back, they won the game, and they're the number one rushing team in the league. They only had 28 carries for 93 yards. So they didn't even run the ball well against the Packers, and they still came back because of how good Caleb Williams was. So it's a team that shouldn't really be here based off of like advanced metrics and
Yeah.
the defense and everything else, but they are, and they keep getting it done. And so it's hard to kind of go against that. And we have seen this line come down a bit, opened at Rams -4.5, -4, now down to 3.5. We've also seen the total drop at least 2.5 or 3 points from 51.5 down to 48.5. So probably some of that weather related as
Yeah.
well. And yeah, I think it should be another great game at night. It's going to be an awesome environment.
It's going
And
to be,
Stafford's finger is also
yeah.
something we'll have to get a little more, right? He banged up that finger against
Yeah.
the Panthers. How is that finger in the freezing cold as well, throwing
Great
the
point.
ball?
Great
I
point.
think that's going to be something that, again, when we're talking about live betting, maybe you want to see a little bit, a couple series, how that goes for Stafford.
The one thing I'm totally with you, and this doesn't even go into the lines and gambling of it all. But the one thing I'm surprised, Parlay Kid, you didn't point out is Harry's right. I mean, the Rams have looked flat and sometimes lay an egg, and think they can just turn it on when they want to. But the one thing I do think is Sean McVay, I think, is looking forward to this challenge of Ben Johnson getting a ton of praise. Ben Johnson, the new whiz kid in town. I think McVay is looking forward to this matchup and it doesn't want to be outshone here.
Yeah, I'm
And
a McVay guy.
he's not looking for a handshake at the end of the game where he's, 2 seconds, see you later.
Well, remember, I'm a huge McVay guy. I mean, you're talking about you got two handsome coaches going up against each other here, Joel, for sure. So
We got to
I'm sure
handicap
that
that. Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
certain there's definitely some pettiness between them too, probably with their physiques. Ben Johnson took off his shirt. Harry, I thought when you were picking the Bears, maybe you would take
Ooh.
off your shirt and do like a Ben Johnson type of thing.
Didn't think about it. You're right.
Little
Yeah.
disappointing. Well, maybe
Could've
next
thought
time
about
if they win, you go with them next time. Maybe we'll get that out of you. Yes, Joel. Yeah, look, that's why I didn't really pick a side here. Took the points. Rams may still win this game because McVay is my boy, and he's definitely.
Yeah.
You're right, Joel. He is going to be fired up for sure in this one to make
Yeah.
sure everybody knows he's still one of the top premier coaches in the league.
Right, and that is true. After on the next pod, and now that Mike Tomlin, we've had so many coaches change over, we should have Harry decide who is the most handsome coach now. It might be a new title. Finally, let's get to this same game parlay. Out of all the ones you guys picked, this is the one I personally would put in across the board. I love all of these. Harry, let's start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I love this. I'm going to take Colston Loveland. I love this one. 70 yards receiving or more at plus 182.
Mm,
Ooh.
He has been a beast the last month. He's
mm.
playing like a veteran tight end, not a rookie. Last 3 weeks versus San Fran, he had 94 yards. He led
Yep.
Chicago with 91 versus Detroit on 10 grabs on 13 targets. And on Saturday night against the Packers, 8 catches,
Mhm.
15 targets, 137 yards, and he's tough. He makes a lot of tough catches. He holds on to the ball. He's a fantastic tight end. I didn't like that draft pick with them taking him. I thought Warren should have been the number one tight end, but he's proved me
Yeah.
wrong. A whole lot of problems
Yeah.
in the Indianapolis quarterback situation. So not the greatest numbers for Warren, but Loveland has been fantastic. And Darren, like your buddy, your old pal, Dayton alum, Dan Patrick would say, you can't stop Colston. You can only hope to contain him.
Very nice.
What?
It,
Wait,
and you're
was
talking
that
about
was that your impression? Wait, hold on. Was that
you're
your?
talking about Marcus Colston
Yeah.
too, right? Harry, yeah, that was not a good Dan Patrick
Yeah.
That
impression,
wasn't
by the
good.
way.
No.
No.
You can't stop Colston. You can only hope to contain him. I don't
All
know.
right. No, that was good. You're in fuego, pal. Brother Bry,
Yeah,
Caleb Williams.
yeah, I'll do this real quick. Caleb Williams over 19 and a half rushing yards. Look, he had
Mm,
20 last week. His rushing totals have been down the second half of the year, but I feel like quarterbacks in this type of game that can run the ball, he's gonna have to make, he's gonna do, I feel like, a quarterback like this will do whatever he needs to do to win this type of
mm,
game.
yeah.
So if he gets one or two big runs in this one, I think he can easily clear the 19 and a half. I just feel like it's a little bit of a low number. And again, I know he's gone under this plenty of times, but I feel like in this big of a game, he's going to have to use his legs a little bit against the Rams.
Yep. And Parlay Kid, Bry gave out the rushing yards. You're with the legs. You're going Caleb with his arm.
Yeah, I'll take Caleb Williams plus 118 to have over 1.5 touchdown passes, 6 straight games. He's nailed 2 exactly. 7 of his last 8, he's gone over this 1.5 total. And really, during that stretch, it's all been in cold weather. Maybe not as cold as it's going to be there on Sunday, but he's certainly has done it in less than ideal conditions. So he's proven to me that he can get it done. Colston, as Harry's just talking about Loveland there, he has certainly come on as a big threat, especially in the red zone too, for Williams. So let's take him over 1.5 touchdown passes with the plus number.
Ben, we should just put that in as is, right?
I
What a
think I
fun
just got my
parlay.
mortgage paid for with that. No, I actually
So
like
mortgage parlay, yeah.
I actually like all of those.
Yeah.
I think as well, like talking to odds makers, the Rams are the top power and have been the top power rated team the second half of the season. So that's a lot of the reason, right? They're favored on the road,
Yep.
which would also lead you to believe the Bears will probably be down. For Loveland, we saw that, right? They were down last week. Who did he want to throw the ball to? 15 targets. I think that was
Yep.
double anyone else, right? So that's some matchups too. And Edgerrin Cooper got hurt for the Packers, which also hurt somewhat in that matchup. And I think Caleb Williams just they also hunt explosive plays. So like he was 24 of 48. It's not like it was a great completion percentage, but he
Yes.
had 361 yards. So I think the yards will be there. I think they'll be losing at some point. Will need to come back. And so unless they're getting the rushing game going and a couple of those, close to the goal line, they run it in instead of throw it. I think that I think I like all 3 of those.
It's gonna be a good weekend. I can't wait. Ben, which of these guys now you get to pick? Who do you want to go to Vegas with? That's how the show worked. Now you pick who you want to party with. Will it be? No, I'm just kidding. You don't need to.
I want to see where Harry can still get into and where he is still banned from. That's
oh
why I
boy.
go down the
Oh
strip.
boy.
I'll tell you this: you're
And
not
do-
gonna
do-
sleep.
do-
You're not gonna
do me-
sleep
Do
much.
me a solid, Ben. Thumbs don't even walk into station casinos. Stay away from all state casinos. Everything they do is a ripoff.
I remember you had some stories. I remember you telling me.
I got some stories.
Oh my God. No, you're gonna do a lot of walking and a lot of fun with Harry, that's for sure. And no, we hope to see you in Vegas soon. And you can follow Ben on X B Fox 22. You can read all his excellent insight at Yahoo Sports Betting Hub. Anything else you want to plug, my friend?
No, that's it. If you guys are out, I'll be at Radio Row if you guys are out for the Super Bowl. So definitely would see you there. And yeah, otherwise, pleasure to be on. Happy to come on anytime.
Awesome stuff.
Awesome.
Thanks a
Thanks,
lot,
man.
Ben.
That was a great
Awesome.
debut.